as I look back, certainly shaped me and make sure that I want to be someone who's an effective communicator. And that was one of those pivotal moments in my life that really informed how I go about doing things today.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying this show, tell us about it and leave us a rating and review. And if you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Chris Price. After almost 600 episodes and hundreds of conversations with investors just like you, we have put together an apartment investing webinar to help provide the framework you need to identify the right opportunities for investments. That's right, finding and selecting the right markets, identifying the right partners, and ultimately investing in the right deals. Join us for this free webinar Wednesday, April 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is register on the link in the show notes and get access to this great event. You're going to learn how to identify the right markets, identify the right partners, and identify the right deals. Make sure you join us Wednesday, April 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for this exclusive event. Chris Price is a distinguished corporate professional with over 20 years of experience in the life sciences industries. Now, notably, he serves as a pharmaceutical executive at a top 15 firm, ensuring that his patients have access to life-saving medications. Beyond his corporate role, Chris is the CEO and co-founder of Red Fox Multifamily, a real estate investment company offering hands-off commercial real estate investment opportunities. Let's welcome to the show, Chris Price.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm honored first and foremost, and I'm very grateful to be sharing this platform with you. And I'm looking forward to having a great conversation and being able to hopefully make an impact on our audiences.
I love it, man. Well, Chris, great to have you on. I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Sure, absolutely. So what I like to tell people that I'm a pharmaceutical executive by day and a real estate investor by night. And in my time and in my successful corporate career, I've done a number of things, but there was a journey to get there. I started back, with my career really focused on, starting in my grounding in university. And I went to a place called Marist College. And Marist College is a place that in upstate New York, where I was a successful student athlete. It's where I formed a lot of my relationships that I have today. I met my wife there. So many great things came out of that place. But from there, we came out and I was able to get into the pharmaceutical industry after trying to play some professional football. That didn't work out for me, but I did all of my internships with the drug company and found a passion for really being able to help make an impact in the lives of patients. And from there, I've been able to really flourish as a pharmaceutical executive. In that time, however, I learned a lot of different things. Just like everyone else, we were all coached up on all the important things that you need to do. Hey, once you got that great job with a pension and the company sponsored 401k, you need to max that thing out and you need to make sure that you go ahead and do all the things, the traditional ways that people have honestly, spoken to us about the way that you need to go about investing and taking care of yourself. But it was a moment in that time where it really recognized that we needed to do something better. And so, in that journey, we beyond focusing on building our career, we started learning a little bit more about other ways that people can build their wealth. And, that started us in some single family investing to where we are now. So I'll definitely go into some more detail about that, but I just wanted to make sure I could provide a macro level view for people around who I am.
Yeah, man. You said you like to tell people that by day you're a pharmaceutical guy, pharmaceutical executive, and by night you're a real estate executive,
That's right.
entrepreneur out there finding deals. And love hearing a little bit more about your background from college, being a student athlete and getting into the pharma world. Let's talk about, kind of that transition into real estate, right? Because for most people, there's usually something that triggers them to say, okay, I need to start looking at other investments. So what made you decide to start investing in real estate?
Yeah, so my why really came down to making sure that we could be diversified. And we were focused. We came on this kind of half stumbled upon it in many different ways. We have been sort of that accidental landlord is really how it starts out, and many people have their journey start out that way. And so we first had a condo that we rented out. Once we decided to start our family and move up, we rented out that condo, and we recognized that we were actually making a little scratch at the end, right? We were getting a little bit of cash flow from that whole situation. And each time we got a new tenant in that property, we were able to continue to bring in some income. And that was great because it was really sort of a little bit of an eye-opening process for us, but we really didn't take it very serious in that time. And at the same time, we were doing the traditional methods of investing that everyone else, had coached us up on. Hey, invest in your 401k. Hey, now that you have this, why don't you guys consider doing IRAs and those types of things? But we really focused on those things and didn't really pay very much attention to the idea of real estate investing, other than the fact that we had a single family that we were able to bring in a little bit of cash flow. But as we got more mature and more focused on this, one of the key moments that happened for us was we recognized through the 2008 financial crisis and a few other pivotal events in that time that really, we didn't have a lot of control over our financial future. It was really tied up very much so in the ebbs and flows of the financial markets, and we did not believe that that was the right place or the smart move to make. And so what we decided to do at that time is really think about what are some ways that we can diversify our income, what are some ways that we can continue to build out and secure our financial future, beyond the financial market. Because just like everyone else in that 2008 financial crisis, our portfolio as young professionals took a major hit, and everything that we saw that we had been saving for, that everyone taught us to do, we watched a lot of that go away just like that because of something that we couldn't control. And so in that time, John, I'll tell you, we started to get smart about things, and we started reading books. And I'll fast forward to a time in about 2018 where my wife and I had a sit down lunch, and we started talking about, hey, what are those things that we're going to do to be able to secure our financial future? We talked a lot about the various different things, from maybe we'll go into franchise ownership, or maybe we'll look at some other thing. But the thing that we recognized that we had available to us was a real estate asset that was actually producing in that condo that I mentioned to you before. And what that conversation actually was the catalyst to everything. That then triggered us to then start to really invest in our self education. That led me to reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. It led me to reading and listening to podcasts, joining meetups, to really exposing my opening our mindset to new ways that we could potentially build and protect our wealth. And that's how we started to get on this journey.
Man, I love it. You talked about going back to the last economic downturn and recognizing what happened to your own portfolio, doing everything that you were supposed to be doing, investing in the stock market, putting your money in your retirement accounts, but also watching those values, plummet and saying, "Hey, how can I get more control? How do I, get to get a chance to really dictate my financial future?" And after some time, took a little while, but you eventually realize, what, real estate, we had that condo, it was doing well, it was going up in value, we're getting great rent, we're getting some money in our pocket. How do we do more of this? And that took you down a journey, right? Where you're starting to read more, you're starting to listen to podcasts, you're starting to surround yourself with people who are playing the game that you want to be in, and that allowed you to grow and prosper. To date, I know that you've invested in over 1,200 units as a real estate investor, both on the LP side and I believe on the GP side as well. Talk to us about that progression.
You're exactly right. So in this journey from, we being in single family investors, we when I say we, both my wife and I, we had those conversations, but in all honesty, one in our relationship, it was recognized that I have a real passion for this beyond just sort of the casual investor or the casual sort of real estate investor at that time. When we decided that we were going to go into real estate, and I read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and then got into all of the podcasts, all of the YouTube videos, all of the books that you can read. Was my gateway. It really opened me up to so many things. And like as you mentioned, I joined meetups and was, over that journey from 2018 to 20 to just right before the pandemic. I was really immersing myself in learning everything that I could in that time. And in that time, John, in full transparency, I was on the point where, I had built out a whole entire plan for us, our financial freedom plan, about what we were going to do to invest in single family, to be able to build out enough to acquire enough single family assets that would be able to replace our income. And what we recognized during that time was that it was going to take a whole lot of single family homes and a whole lot of time and what I like to call brain damage to make that happen, going through the process of getting the loans and all the different things that come with that. And then also just the lack of systems and processes to be able to do it at scale, even if we were going to do turnkey investing. But at the same time that I learned about single family investing and turnkey investing and all the different ways that one could do that, I also was learning in parallel about multifamily investing. I remember the moment where I was listening to podcasts, listening to people like Michael Blanc, listening to people like you, listening to people like Brad Sumrock talk about, hey, you don't need to go from graduate from single family to multifamily. You can go straight to multifamily. And this I was, in all honesty, I did not believe that. I thought I had to do single family first before I could go to multifamily. But there was something in me that told me at that time that, no, you know what, Chris, let's revise our strategy. And instead of building out our financial freedom plan focused on single family, what we decided to do instead was focus on our financial freedom plan specifically related to multifamily investing. And so I poured into that and started to really get into building relationships with operators and sponsors of these multifamily deals through the different meetups and communities that I became a part of. And through those things and building relationships, that then started to present me with opportunities, investment opportunities, and that, within a matter of a few months to a year, I had investment opportunities that were presented in front of us to be able to consider investing. And that's how I broke into the commercial multifamily space. Started out as a passive investor in investing passively into deals. And through that journey of being able to learn how to invest passively into other people's deals, what was really fascinating about the process for me was that this I recognized at that point in time that I really loved this more than than it was just being a passive investor. And in fact, being someone in the pharmaceutical industry, I recognize that also that there are people in my industry in a similar position to me that have no clue about the fact that this is a way that one could build wealth. So what if I were able to put myself in a position where I can help other people like me in the life sciences industry invest passively into real estate and build their wealth as well? And that's how I got into this journey of passive real estate investing in multifamily.
I love it, man. You talked about your background and how important it was. And really, you started by talking about, you and your wife sitting down and coming up with your financial future, right? Coming up with that financial plan and
Yes.
understanding, hey, what do we need to do in order to reach our goals? And I think that's really important because so many couples, don't really sit down and collaborate on what their collective financial goals are. What do we need to be? Where do we need to be? What are the numbers behind this? Like, how much do we need to make? How much do we need to invest? How much do we need to save? And that's where you see a bit of a rift when one wants to be in real estate, one wants to invest, and maybe the other is a little more apprehensive because they're not taking the time to align on the plan. And then the second thing, which is a great follow-up, is the education, right? once you kind of align on that, all right, we got to go figure out how to do this, right? We got to read books, we got to attend meetups, we have to listen to podcasts, we have to be around people who are doing this so we can learn how to do that. So I love the fact that you did that. And then I think the third step is really a blueprint for anyone looking to get going. If you have a good W-2 job right now and a little bit of savings, start as a passive investor. As you're networking and making relationships, start as a passive investor. And I say that for two reasons. One, you get a chance to earn while you learn. But two, you can decide whether or not you're really passionate about this business and this industry and being active and helping other people, or if you just want to make your money, right? If you just want to make money, why take on the work? Why take on the
Right.
responsibility? Like, put your money to work, earn those returns, learn from it, find operators that you know, like, and trust, understand how to ask better questions of the deals, and you'll get better and better over time. But you can be passive. But if you do really enjoy it, then you can be active. The reason I say that is I think so many people try to be active first when they don't have any experience, they haven't been in on a deal, they don't know the right questions to ask. And even when they go to approach other people, it almost comes off like they're asking them for help or they're asking them to invest with them, as opposed to sharing the experiences that they're having. From your standpoint, when you were investing and then you looked at your peers and said, man, a lot of these people don't even know about this, you saw it as an opportunity to help these individuals. And I think how you approach something is almost more important than the actual approach. Talk to me more about that transition for you and starting to work with some of your colleagues in the life science space.
Absolutely. So that moment where I recognized that I was really more passionate about this than just being a passive investor really another pivotal moment for me. And and looking at and evaluating the opportunity to then be able to be what I like to call be a blessing in other people's lives is really what that trigger point was. Because here I am recognizing that I have an opportunity, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to invest passively into these deals and to be able to benefit from some of these returns. What if I'm able to help other people do the same? And so at that point in time, I really started to think critically about, okay, how now do I break into this space and actually be able to do this? And what I recognized along that journey was that all of the information that I was learning and educating just through my own investment of my own time and self-education through the podcast and YouTube videos and books and such, all of that was great. But if I was going to be in a position to where I wanted to help other people do this and do it at the highest level, I wanted to invest in my education in that way. And so what I decided to do, is really start to research various different masterminds and coaching programs and mentor programs, because these were structured programs of people who, as you mentioned earlier, are doing the things that I actually wanted to be able to do. So rather than have me go out there and try to blue sky it, as they say, or make it up as they go, I am a big believer in investing in other people's systems and processes to be able to accelerate my my growth, my development in this space. So I decided to join the Michael Blanc deal maker mastermind and coaching program, once I decided that I wanted to be able to help other people do this. And the reason that was important to me after assessing all of the programs that many of you out there already know was that program resonated with me the most. And but that what that would allow me to be able to do, or at least it did at that time, and what that would allow me to do was to be able to educate myself formally through a structured curriculum. It would allow me to have access to a coach and a mentor who's actually doing deals right now, and then a whole entire network of other students like me, but also other experienced investors in this mastermind, to where I'm having routine dialogue about all of those things. And that would actually position me in the best way when I'm actually working with investors and taking care of their hard-earned money, to ensure that I'm doing that at the highest level. And so that was something that was really important to me in starting our company, Red Fox Multifamily, which, to bring it all the way back to the beginning, Red Fox Multifamily, just to let you know, the origin story there really is I told you I went to Marist College, and Marist College is a place that formulated all of my a lot of my really critical relationships. But the mascot of the school was the Red Fox, and that's the place where I met my wife. And so when we decided to name our company something, Red Fox Multifamily was the natural sort of conclusion there for us to be able to name our company and launch things. And so we in 2022, in fact, I enrolled in the Michael Blanc Dealmaker Mastermind and Coaching Program, and it was a little bit of a slog there, John. If I'm being honest, I learned a lot. I got great coaching. Had a lot of opportunities. Hey, maybe this group we're gonna start our own team together and band together and take down deals. Well, that quickly started, but it quickly fell apart, and I was kind of left at this point where I felt my passion and commitment for being able to get into real estate deals was something that maybe wasn't matched with the people that were a part of my immediate network. And so we decided to part ways within some of our subgroups within the mastermind, but I continued to network and build relationships there. And what that I was able to discover in that time is that I really have a passion for educating investors and have a passion for being able to help connect their capital to great real estate deals. And what that illuminated for me was that in this space of multifamily where there's so many different roles from acquisitions to asset management to all of the other things in between, that my passion was really in that investor attraction, in that investor education, and investor relations. And that was the role that I wanted to make sure that I was playing in this space. And so I decided to invest even more in my education in that space, to be able to tap into programs and systems to help me really impact investors at scale, to be able to educate them and then connect them to deals.
Yeah, you talked about the education. I think education is really key. There's certainly different programs out there. You got to find what works for you and what gravitates to you. I think it's interesting when you talk about really stepping back and understanding where your strengths are, understanding where you get joy, where do you feel fulfilled, knowing your role. And when you do that, you can double down and get great at it. I think one of the hardest things with real estate is particularly with multifamily investing, it is like running a small business. And most people like whatever the product is, but they don't love every aspect of being an entrepreneur, right? You don't love the financials, the accounting, the
Right.
HR. You don't love all of that, right? You might just like making this product. And that's one of the challenges I think some people face, which is why partnerships work so well. But even then, it's a matter of getting to know people, the connections, like, does their energy match my energy? There's a whole lot there. So it's understandable that sometimes those partnerships don't necessarily pan out. But I'm glad to hear that you've been able to kind of reinvest and really focus and lock in on where your special skills are, right? And where you're uniquely positioned to help other people. And that's what really we all want to do as investors, right? And as talents in general, figure out what we do really well. Let's maximize that to help the other people and then figure out where we need help. And that's where we either partner or we hire people or we find ways to mitigate those areas where maybe we're not as strong. I want to go back to the story of Red Fox Multifamily because I really got a little joy out of hearing you talk about that, going back to your college days where you met your wife. I also met my wife in college, and we certainly couldn't name our company after our mascot because it was the Raiders. So that
Oh,
certainly wouldn't that wouldn't go over quite as well.
no.
But no, Chris, I love where you're at. So talk to more of the businesses today, right? We kind of talked about what you were doing in the past. We talked a little about being an investor in over 1,200 units. What does the portfolio look like today, and where are you headed?
Yeah, so in that journey of becoming an active investor, it really took me about almost exactly a year, in the beginning of 2023, to take down my first deal with some partners. And what I shared with you is that in that time, being a part of the different mastermind groups also exposes you to other operators and sponsors and experienced investors. And in that time, you know, I also talked about going to conferences and meetups over that time. Well, it just so happened that my first deal that I was able to take down as a co-GP was actually with some with a team that I actually met through our mastermind program at a conference, and we broke bread, had dinner, had the drinks, talked about it, and we said, hey, one day we're going to partner and take down a deal together. Fast forward several months later, I get that phone call or the text message that led to a phone call to say, hey, we are putting together a team for a deal. We'd love to have you come on board in that team on our team to help with this project. And that was a 152 unit Class B deal in Dallas, Texas. And that was my very first deal that I was able to co GP on and bring a substantial amount of capital to the deal, but also be able to learn through all the things that I've been learning in theory through the education that been provided and all the things you talked earlier about having that experience as a passive investor. Now I'm on the other end, able to build things out and tactically execute on the active side of things. Well, at the same time as I was going through this process of being able to take down my first investment opportunity as a co-GP on the project in Dallas. There in parallel, I had been having active discussions about another investment opportunity, about not only another project in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, but also another interesting opportunity in the Pennsylvania market. And in those conversations, that led to my on in quick succession becoming a co-GP on an investment opportunity in the Philadelphia, excuse me, in the Pennsylvania market, in a great submarket where we were able to have a great project there. That was another 120 unit project, and now all this experience and being able to bring investors, educate them on these different opportunities, being involved in the different conversations and discussions with respect to asset management, all the different things that are investor relations, et cetera. Now I'm actively working on various different things. Well, that experience continued to lead me to connections and partners and growing my network of sponsors. And as I'm building up my own track record and my ability to deliver on my commitments, though that then opens up opportunities to then have great conversations with other experienced operators who are out there and what learning or listening and seeing what I may be doing. And that gives me also an opportunity to have conversations with them. So about what I'm doing and what I'm interested in being able to do. That then led me to partnering up with another very experienced operations and sponsorship team for that wrapped up the end of 2023 with a portfolio deal in Houston that was a total of 666 units. So in my opportunity to be able to partner in these different deals, and that deal, in fact, I served as a fund manager for that particular opportunity. But the most important thing to recognize here is that continuing to be able to deliver, show up, meet your word, deliver or meet or and exceed expectations, and then in that time be able to continue to build my track record. It was some of the things that was important to me, but most important to me were the things that I was able to do in helping connect, helping people diversify their portfolio and invest in great real estate projects that hopefully will achieve the projected returns that we have.
Listen, you just gave some great feedback on your journey, right? You talked about education first, from there, networking, building relationships. I love the in person aspect of getting to know people, breaking bread at conferences and events like that. From there, you were able to build relationships where you talked about, hey, we should do some deals together in the future. Fast forward, you got that text message, the phone call, talking about doing a deal that led to 152 units. From there, you were kind of off and running, doing different deals. So I think it's really important for people to understand that you kind of have to keep taking little small steps in the same direction, right? It starts with the education. Well, one, it starts with the goal and the vision. Once you have the goal and the vision, starts with the education, then it's the networking, making those connections, and then seeking out those opportunities. Because you make that transition from the LP passive side of the business to the GP active side of the business, I'm curious to hear what's one thing that was different that you weren't expecting when you were actually on the active side managing the deal, as opposed to when you were a passive investor being more of an LP.
Yes, and what I tell people, that's such a great question because one of the things that passive investing get you, as you alluded to earlier, was the opportunity to learn. And you're learning a little bit differently. You're learning, hey, how do these operators communicate? Who does it well and who doesn't do it so well? What about when things are going well with the deal or when things are going right with the deal? Are they, how do you feel their level of transparency is? What about the way that they execute the projects? Those all of those things are things that I learned as a passive investor in the multiple deals that I invested in passively. All of those things were great lessons learned. Fast forward now to then moving over to the active side and being able to be involved in deals. I know, through all the years of being a passive investor, I now am very, very astute on what I like and what I don't like when it comes to investor relations and how to be kept informed with respect to projects. And so taking that information and those experiences that I've had as a passive investor, now I know what I want to do in order to educate my investors to keep them informed in the way that I would expect to as a passive investor. It allows me also to be able to be very much focused on being able to deliver quality customer experiences. And I know you, as a former marketer, you know all about the importance of customer experience and making sure that this is not a one and done type of situation here. This is something that we want to build lasting relationships and people that are going to continue to invest with us in the future. And so those were the things that were very much important to me, and it will continue to be as long as I'm in this business. Relationships matter. That is the most important thing that we have going on here. And I want to make sure that I'm nurturing those relationships. And when things are going well, I'll be the first to tell you. If things are maybe going a little sideways, but to sit tight, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that as well, because that is what I would expect, and I want to do the same for my investors.
No, I appreciate you saying that and sharing that information. Chris, for folks who want to follow, they can go to redfoxmultifamily.com, learn more, and catch up on some of the things you and your team are working on. Right now, we're going to transition to our round of insights. Chris, give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
Well, I mean, I've had, all of us, we're humans, right? And we all have had our opportunities to fail and opportunities to succeed. I would say one of the failures that I've had in my career was a failure of the very last topic actually that I just talked about, which is a failure in communication. I was leading a project, and in leading that project, I felt as though I had complete control over everything. And in fact, and I did. However, one of the things that I neglected to do within my ownership of that project in my corporate career was actually communicate with all the key stakeholders and keeping people informed along the way. I think part of the reason why communication is such an important aspect to me is because of this failure that I had, and failure to communicate led to people that needed to know certain information to not be informed. It led also to maybe the outcome was successful in the end, but perhaps it was not as successful as it could have been had the right people have been brought in at the right time. Perhaps things could have been done a little bit more efficiently had I brought in the right stakeholders and communicated these things along the way. And so communication is something that's so important to me, probably because this is one of those things early in my corporate career that really shaped me. Getting the feedback about, from the people that were left out of the communication about how they felt, how what that where that left them, being able to reconcile or having to reconcile some of our the relationships that may have been damaged as a result of me thinking that I could just take it all on my own. Those are things that, as I look back, will certainly shape me and make sure that I want to be someone who's an effective communicator. And that was one of those pivotal moments in my life that really, really informed how I go about doing things today.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
What I recommend for my business, a lot of people in our business talk when they look at different resources to be able to educate investors, they think about downloadable PDF documents. One of the things that I am a big believer on is the medium that we're using right now. This in this podcast, there will be audio, but there will be video as well. And so I'm a big believer in webinars, and the community that that I'm coming from beyond the Michael Blanc group is a group called the Investor Attraction Academy. And we very much believe in being able to leverage that medium to be able to share and educate our prospective investors through webinars and digital webinars as lead magnets to attract investors, to help them learn not only about the asset class, but get a chance to know and see me in a different light. And that then leads to really meaningful conversations down the line.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
The book that I recommended and gifted the most is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I practice the Miracle Morning every day. He is, and in fact, his follow-up book, The Miracle Equation, is the next book that I recommend to people because those books were so meaningful to me in terms of getting into shape and being able to focus on my own personal development. That book, The Miracle Morning, is top of my list.
Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Yes, and I just talked about the fact that I practice the Miracle Morning, but that's something that's really important to me. Practicing the Miracle Morning consists of waking up early in the morning, about 5:30. I'm up in the morning. That includes me making sure that I'm spiritually grounded. Reading Bible scripture, having affirmations, writing gratitudes, silent prayer, and then getting on with my day about being able to get some good exercise in, all before any of the kids are up in the morning, all before the world of corporate America or real estate comes flying in at me. I'm able to ground myself in my routine and take care of me first, because if I'm not at my highest and best use, then I'm not going to be worth much to anyone else out there. So I need to make sure that recognizing that I'm taking care of me, and that Miracle Morning practice certainly helps ground me every single day.
Give me your number one insight for being a successful general partner on multifamily deals.
Man, I love this question, and what I would tell people is the most important thing to do is to be consistent, and to execute. And here's what I mean by that. You're going to be faced with every up and down. The majority of us, there are some that have come into this space and they were able to have tremendous success right out of the bat. But those are more exceptions and not the rule. And in many people's cases, getting into great deals and becoming a great multifamily investor on the active side requires a lot of persistence. It requires some long nights. It requires some networking, and you taking step after step, regardless of the outcome that happens at the end, because that those actions and those consistent actions are going to lead to a successful outcome. But if you're one that backs away from that, or just shuts it down and quits, you're not going to see that through. And instead, I want you to be encouraged and have that mindset of being consistent, executing every day. And those consistent actions of execution are going to help you lead to the outcome that you desire.
All right, let's lighten the mood. You are out there in New York, so I'll let you pick the location, but give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Oh man, my favorite place to grab a bite was actually a recent one. One of the things that my wife and I instituted bit more so this year, we're getting back into it, as a date night, and so we have been into doing date nights at least once a month. And so the most recent place that we had a chance to grab a bite at would ranks up there extremely high, with a place called the Wellesley, excuse me, in New York City, in the West Village. The food was great, the ambiance were great, drinks were on point as well. Could not say better things about that experience. Now, of course, we'll have another date night, and then that restaurant may be trumped by something else, but this one ranks up high there on the list, so I can't say no to it.
Sounds like a great option. Well, Chris, listen, I enjoyed our conversation today. You talked about your journey being in the pharmaceutical world, helping others in that space, and then really recognizing that, hey, we've been investing in the stock market, our 401ks. We've watched this kind of be more of a roller coaster, but that condo did really well. Maybe we should do more in real estate. Starting with the education, starting with learning as much as you can, getting a mentor, and then ultimately making an investment first as a limited partner on the passive side before making that transition to being an active partner and being a general partner on these deals. To date, you've invested in over 1,200 deals, or 1,200 units, I should say, and being able to scale your Red Fox multifamily company. Again, if anybody does want to learn more and connect with you, they can go to redfoxmultifamily.com. Chris, thanks again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you and hope you have a great day.